Really?
My recollection.
Okay, good afternoon, everybody. I'd like to call our regular Board of County Commissioner meeting. Today is to order. Today is Tuesday, October 26th, and for the official time, it is 2:19. Madam Clerk, can I get a roll call, please?
Yes, Mr. Chair. Commissioner Anna Hansen.
Present.
Commissioner Hank Hughes.
Present.
Commissioner Anna Hamilton.
Here.
Commissioner Rudy Garcia.
Commissioner Garcia is excused.
Okay, and Shea Roybal.
I'm here.
You have quorum, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Okay, next we're going to go on to item number 1C and 1D and 1E. This is the Pledge of Allegiance, the State Pledge, and the moment of reflection. And from the County Sheriff's Office, we have Detective Joel Canyon. So if we could rise. Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I salute the flag of the state of New Mexico and the Zia symbol of perfect friendship among united cultures. Okay, and once again, from the Sheriff's Department, we have Detective Joel Canyon. Or Cano. Detective or yes, so Joe is Detective Joel Cano on the line.
Mr. Chair, it doesn't appear that he is just at this point. Would you like me to recite the moment of reflection?
Yes, please. Yes, Tessa, if you could.
Let us take a moment to focus on the work ahead of us today, being ever mindful of our decisions and in the best interest of our community. We take a moment of silence. Thank you.
Thank you, Tessa Joe. Is there any other Commissioner Hansen, and then I'll go to Commissioner Hughes?
Thank you. I wanted to take a moment to remember Haley Hutchinson, the cinematographer who was shot on set this last week, and pray for her family and send them love and kindness through this very difficult time. and for the entire film community that is, I'm sure, suffering from this incredibly unfortunate accident that happened. So I would ask that we take a moment of silence for them.
And that was the same that I was going to ask for.
Thank you, Commissioner Hanson and Commissioner Hughes. So if we could have a moment of silence. Okay, thank you. Okay, our next item is item number 1F, and this is the approval of the agenda. Are there any changes or requests to this agenda? I'm going to go to Manager Miller first.
Mr. Chair, yes, we posted the original agenda on Tuesday, October 19th at 5:15 p.m. And then we posted the amended agenda with the following amendments on Friday, October 22nd at 5 p.m. Those amendments are that item 3B, which was a budget resolution, that item was withdrawn. Item 3I, which is an MOU between Santa Fe County and AFSCME, Council 18, that item was added. Item 4B, 4C, and 4D, the packet material that was online was updated. And then item 9A, which is executive session, the matters to discuss in executive session, items number 1 through 3 were added. And those are all the amendments to the original agenda.
Okay, thank you, Manager Miller. Are there any other requests from board members for changes to the agenda? If not, what's the pleasure of the board? Commissioner Hamilton?
Mr. Chair, I move to approve.
A second.
We have a motion from Commissioner Hamilton for approval and a second from Commissioner Hanson. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Okay, next we're going to go on to item number 1G, and this is years of service and new hire recognitions. We're going to go to our county manager, Ms. Catherine Miller.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. As you know, several years ago, we initiated a service recognition program, and it recognizes employees on a monthly basis who have completed years of service in 5-year increments, consecutive years. And we did this because we really do recognize the value of employee retention and believe it's important that we express that appreciation to employees who contribute to the county and who choose to have a career here at Santa Fe County. So this month, we've had several people who hit 5, 10, and 15-year anniversaries. In the county assessor department, we have Alyssa Bowles, who hit her 5-year anniversary on October 3rd, along with Douglas Berrien in our Fleet Service Public Works on October 3rd, Jeremy Garcia in our legal administration, also on October 3rd, and Francis Martinez in the county treasurer's office. Then on October 17th, we had 2 others that hit their 5-year anniversary, and that is the Fire Marshal Blay and Matthew Lindsay in Solid Waste and Public Works. And then 10-year anniversaries on October 8th, Anita Lucero in the County Assessors, and Travis Dow in Senior Services doing home delivered meals on October 20th. And then tomorrow in our seniors program, Diane Senna will hit her 10-year anniversary. And then in road maintenance on October 2nd, James Salazar, and on October 30th, Tommy Garcia. Those 2 will both have their 15-year anniversaries this month, and he's from the county assessor's office as well. So just wanted to recognize them, and if you have an opportunity to thank them for their service, I'm sure they would appreciate it, and we definitely appreciate them choosing to stay at Santa Fe County.
Thank you, Manager Miller, and it's always a huge thank you from the County Commission Board for the dedicated service to Santa Fe County and its residents. So we do appreciate the years of service and just picking Santa Fe County as their career choice. Any other comments from the board? Okay. Okay, Manager Miller, you were did you go over new hires now?
Yes, Mr. Chair and Commissioners. We also like to welcome new employees who've decided to come work at Santa Fe County, and these are new hires for the month of September. On September 11th, we had 3 new hires. That's Caitlin Weber in sustainability as a sustainability specialist, and then in the clerk's office, recording clerk Natalie Franco and Rudy Martinez, and also Angelina Payan started on September 25th, and Cindy Benavides as a voter information specialist also. Then in corrections on September 11th, we had booking clerk Fatima Avila and Colton Jones, detention officer. In our fire department, Maria Harris and Trevor Carson, and that's a secretary senior and accounting tech senior, respectively. And then in our dispatch, Elise Anaya as a trainee dispatcher, and animal control officer Tasha Baca, and Sheriff Deputy 3 Stephen Yoakum. So those are our, and might be Joakim, but they started at the end of September. So we just want to welcome them to Santa Fe County and hope they choose to stay. And I'll be announcing their 5-year anniversary in 5 years.
Yep. Thank you, Manager Miller, and it's really great to see all the new hires. I know it's something the county, desperately needs at this point, where we need to fill a lot of positions. And I see that the clerk's office hired 4 new employees, so that's really good to see. And actually, it looks like 5 new employees, or no, just 4. So I'm glad to see that. I know that we have a lot of need in different departments. So welcome aboard, and yeah, we definitely want to look forward to announcing your 5, 10, 15, 20-year anniversaries working for Santa Fe County. So we hope that you'll continue your career here. But welcome aboard. Any other comments from the commission? Okay, seeing none, we're going to go on to our next item, and this is going to be item number 2, and this is the approval of the meeting minutes. Request approval for the September 28th, 2021 Board of County Commission meeting minutes. Are there any changes?
Mr.
Commissioner
Chair,
Hanson?
I would like to move to approve.
Okay, so we have a motion from Commissioner Hanson and a second from Commissioner Hamilton. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimously. So we're going to go on to our next item, and this is our consent agenda. Is there anything on the consent agenda that any board member would like to pull off? Commissioner Hughes?
Yeah, I have a question about 3G. I don't think we need to pull it off, but I
Okay,
do have a question.
sure. Please proceed, sir.
So on item 3G, which is the $25,000 for the bulk water storage expansion, it seems like that's not getting us very far toward the full price of this project expansion. And also, I think we were going to build the one at the end of Turquoise, at the end of the line first. So I just wondered if someone could tell me how this $25,000 fits into that overall plan to, increase bulk water at on Highway 14.
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Hughes, I think that the language in this is broad enough that we'll be able to use it on the site that we have already designated funds for. But even if we can't, we still have the need to expand the existing facility, and we would put that funding towards it. We did, the board did appropriate or allocate funds for that expansion, and obviously we would use grant money first if we can towards that, and then, and if we have anything left over, then request that the board allocate the federal funds elsewhere. But what we try to do is accept the grants and spend them first. And no, it's not really enough to do either project, but hopefully we can put it towards the part that's been approved already. The language, I think, with it being on Highway 14 and an expansion of what we currently do for bulk water, it's likely we can use it. But if we can't, as I said, we still have improvements to do at the other facility as well.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. If we can't use it at the one that we already voted to do first, can we hold on to this money for a while? Or we collect more money to do the second phase, or?
So, Mr. Chair, Commissioner Hughes, usually these agreements are 3 to 4 years. I'd have to look at this one specifically. Yeah, so this one's for 3 years. And what we would do is one of two things: either try to get enough, continue to get, and we have it on the ICIP, request funding for the complete project at the current site. And we would, and if we weren't able to do that between state grants and our own funds, prior to it expiring, we could ask for it to be reauthorized to something else in the area, or if this language isn't broad enough to use it on the one that we've already appropriated funds for, we could potentially ask for a language change this session as well. But I think, and we haven't, I don't think we've put the question to DFA yet, but the fact that it is on Highway 14, so that's the first requirement, is that it makes sure it's located where the appropriation is made, and it's an expansion to our existing system. It probably does fit into the category, but we'll double check it before we try to draw it down.
Okay, very, very good. Thank you. Mr. Chair, I'll go ahead and make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So we have a motion from Commissioner Hughes
Second.
and a second from Commissioner Hamilton. Is there anything else under discussion? Okay, seeing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you. Madam Clerk, can we get resolution numbers?
Yes, Mr. Chair, resolution number 3C should be 2021-086. 3D should be 087. 3E should be 088. 3F should be 089. And 3G should be 090.
Hey, thank you, Madam Clerk.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay, so we're going to move on to our miscellaneous action items. Our first one is 4A, and this is a resolution amending Resolution 2019-6, adopting the Santa Fe County Department Management Policy. And from our Finance Department, we have our Director, Ms. Yvonne Herrera.
Good afternoon, Chair Roybal, Commissioners. I'm here before you to request the approval of an update to the debt management policy. The purpose of the debt management policy, which was approved on January 8th, 2019, under Resolution 2019-6, is to provide the effective management of the county's debt programs in a manner consistent with applicable laws, industry standards, and that maintains or improves the county's credit ratings. In addition to the establishment of a policy, the effectiveness of the policy needs maintenance, which requires the policy to be reviewed and changed as necessary for changes in processes, laws, and regulations and evolving risks. The current debt management policy is missing information on the budgeting and payment processes. Section 12, debt service requirements, is being added to address these. The addition specifies the Finance Division responsible for budgeting debt service payments for bonds, as well as processing the payments, while the departments are responsible for other types of debt, such as leases and loans. The new section also provides details on the processes and timing of initiating bond payments through completion, including verifying the required payments to ensure bond payments are made accurately and timely. And with that, Chair Roybal, I stand for any questions.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Herrera. Does the board have any questions for Director Herrera? Okay, seeing none, what's the pleasure of the board? Oh,
Mr.
Commissioner
Chair?
Hanson, did you have a question, or do you want to
No,
make a motion?
I'm going to make a motion.
Okay, go ahead.
I would like to make a motion to approve a resolution amending Resolution 2019-6, adopting the Santa Fe County Debt Maintenance Management Policy.
And I'll second.
So we have a motion from Commissioner Hanson and a second from Commissioner Hughes. Under discussion, is there other discussion from the board? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you, Director Herrera. Madam Clerk, can we get a resolution number?
Yes, Mr. Chair, this resolution is 2021-091.
Thank you, Madam Clerk.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Next, we're going to go on to item number 4B. And this is request authorization to publish title and general summary of an ordinance amending ordinance number 2018-4. And from our Public Works Department, we have Mr. John Dupuy.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair and Commissioners. HDR Engineering previously completed a study on the county's current water connection fee approach and developed water and sewer utility expansion charges. I've provided a one-page summary as requested previously by Commissioner Hamilton of the UECs for water and sewer, and I will review that now. A one-time charge required of all new customers desiring or existing customers requesting an increased level of service. So it is only at the time of service and a one-time charge. Second, the amount for the water UEC will be $3,165 for a 5/8 meter. The amount for larger meters is equal to the base amount multiplied by the American Water Works Association ratio of the capacity of the larger meter to that 5/8 meter. At the October 12th BCC meeting, a reduced UEC rate for affordable housing was discussed. Since that time, in consultation with the county attorney, Section 1364 of the SLDC describes affordable housing relief, and it was determined that this relief would also apply to the water UECs, which would result in a cost of zero for an affordable home for a water UEC. So instead of adding wording to the proposed ordinance as discussed, we left the wording as is and the dollar amount as is, and that affordable housing relief will be provided by that existing section in the SLDC. And with that, I would stand for any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Dupuy or Director Dupuy. Do we have any questions from the board? If not, what's the pleasure of the board?
Mr. Chair, move to approve.
So we have a motion of approval from Commissioner Hamilton. Do I hear a second?
Second.
And a second from Commissioner Hughes. Under discussion, is there anything else? Okay, thank you, Director Dupuy, for working on this. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and get a resolution number for this one, Madam Clerk.
Mr. Chair, I don't believe there's a resolution number. I think it has to go to public.
Oh, okay. Sorry about that. Okay, so next we're going to go on to item number 4C, and this is an ordinance amending ordinance number 1998-16, an ordinance establishing provisions for the extension of sewer services, adopting operation and management procedures and establishing design standards for the Santa Fe County wastewater utility to update sewer service connection fees. And once again, we have our director, Mr. John Dupuy.
Good afternoon again, Mr. Chair and Commissioners. The summary is relatively similar from the prior action item, and I will point out the differences that are specific to the sewer UEC. Specifically, the amount of the sewer UEC is $1,635, and that's for a 5/8 meter. As previously explained, the water meter size would be multiplied by the AWWA ratio of the capacity of the larger meter if anyone is requesting service and requires a larger water meter. So the sewer service charge is dependent upon their water meter size, which is generally indicative of the demand for water and sewer service. Regarding the discussion on the October 12th BCC meeting to provide for affordable housing relief from the sewer UEC, the reduced rate amount discussed was $400. And as mentioned earlier, the section 1364 of the SLDC only applies to the water connection charges. And with the direction to do so from the BCC, we would propose updating the SLDC to provide the same exemption for the sewer UECs. And I stand for any questions.
Okay, do we have any questions from the board? Commissioner Hughes?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. So when we publish this for title and general summary, are you proposing that we would include that exemption right away in the same time that we're proposing the fee?
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Hughes, I am not proposing that it would be at the same time. I'm proposing that would follow, and the timeline in between would be relatively short period of time that should not cause any problems for our developers.
Okay. That was my question. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Hughes. Okay, any other questions or comments from the board? Commissioner Hanson?
Yeah, thank you, John. I think this is an important move that we make it match, especially for low-income families throughout the county, and will provide help that many of them need, that since we have many low-income families in our community. So thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Hanson. Commissioner Hamilton?
I was just going to make a motion to approve.
Okay.
I'll second.
We have a motion from Commissioner Hamilton, a second from Commissioner Hanson. Under discussion, any other comments? Seeing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you again, Mr. Dupuy. Okay, we're going to go on to item number 4D, and this is an ordinance adopting the 2021 redistricting plan for Santa Fe County Commission districts based upon the 2020 U.S. Census. And from our Growth Management Department, we have our Director, Mr. Earl Wright.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. Earl Wright, GIS Manager for Santa Fe County. So again, we're here to request authorization to publish title and general summary adopting the 2021 redistricting plan. And again, these are based on the 2020 census numbers. This is actually the formality of getting the redistricting done, in which we need to amend the 1989 ordinance, which actually created the 5 commission districts, moved the county from 3 to 5 commission districts, and also repeal the 2011 ordinance which created the current commission districts. So you have the exhibits attached, a draft ordinance, and I will stand for any questions you may have.
Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Hanson?
I want to thank you, Earl, for your work on this and making it such a smooth process. I think that since most of the growth happened in the city, this is a really good solution. And with that, I would like to make a motion to approve the title and general summary.
And I'll second.
So we have a motion from Commissioner Hanson, a second from Commissioner Hughes under discussion. I also want to thank you for the work on this, Mr. Wright. We really appreciate it. I mean, it's made it really easy for us, so thank you for all your hard work, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. And just for the record, I want to confirm that Commissioner Hamilton did vote in the affirmative, correct? Thank you. Okay, thank you, Mr. Wright. We really appreciate it. Next, we're going to go on to presentations. 5A is a presentation from Santa Fe County Water Policy Advisory Committee, the WPAC, on drought management planning. And from the WPAC board, we have Mr. Ken Kirk and Mr. Brian Romero.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair, Commissioners.
Oh, I'm sorry. Hold on one second. Sorry about that, Angeline. Go ahead.
I just wanted to, good afternoon, Mr. Chair, Commissioners. I just wanted to quickly, before Ken provides his presentation, I wanted to give a little bit of introduction to the members of the Wpac who are here. So this is a presentation from the Water Policy Advisory Committee, and we have Mr. Ken Kirk, who is a member of the Wpac, and I do believe also that Brian Romero, who is the chair of the Water Policy Advisory Committee, on WebEx as well, if you should have any questions.
Okay,
So
thank
go
you.
ahead.
Welcome, Mr. Kirk and Mr. Romero. So the floor is yours, Mr. Kirk.
Thank you. Can we, okay, I want to thank Brian Mara, Chair, will be here for your question. The Water Policy Committee put a lot of time into this document, and I want to very happy.
Mr. Kirk, sorry to interrupt, but for some reason it's the signal is breaking up, so we can't really understand. Daniel, if you're online, do you have any recommendations for him to correct that? Or Matthew?
Mr. Chair, if the user wants to try turning off their camera, that might help with the speed of the internet. Also looks like he is signed in on 2 devices, which might be affecting his internet speed.
Actually, you sound a little bit muffled too. I didn't quite catch that. I don't know if the other commissioners understood. Yeah, okay. So it's, did you get that, Mr. Kirk?
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. What is that?
So, Mr. Chair,
Yes,
if he could
Commissioner-
sign
Manager
in, it appears he's signed in on 2 devices, which might be affecting internet speed or causing the to cut out. So I don't know if he's able to just sign in from one device.
Yeah, okay.
And then the other issue was, although I don't think he doesn't have his camera on this one, but if he has something with a camera on, that also might be affecting his internet speed. So it might be even easier if he just, if he has to just call in for the voice part. I don't know how he's logged in.
Okay, did you hear that, Mr. Kirk? It appears that you're signed in with two devices, and so we think it might be interfering. I don't know if you would be able, are you calling in too, or is it, you might have better luck if you call in, and can somebody provide him that number, please? Yes, so Joe, do you happen to have that number that he could call in on?
What is the,
Yes, Mr. Chair. The number for him to call in is 1-408-418-9388. The meeting number is 968-291-714.
Were you able to get that, Mr. Kirk?
yes, I,
Mr. Kirk, when you're signed in, you'll have to select *6 on your telephone.
Mr. Kirk, did you call in?
Mr. Chair, this is Brian Romero. Is my audio working okay? If not, I can take over the presentation.
Yes, sir, we can hear you clearly.
Yes, sir. So in order of the time of the board, and I would like to proceed in just presenting at this point.
Okay, please proceed, sir.
Okay, Angeli, I guess you had said that the presentation was going to be on the screen itself.
I believe they're bringing it up now, sir. Yes, we can see it.
Okay, let me see if I can see it. I'm out in Wpac, so the internet's not the fastest. So, as long as you can see it, I can pull it up on my side and see the presentation and go through it.
So yes, we see the presentation.
Okay, let me see if I can see it. Hold on. Now I see it. So this we in your packets, the complete drought planning guidance document. This is a PowerPoint presentation that highlights the we felt were the important parts. All of it's important, so we just this is just for highlighting purposes. I would like to at the end of the presentation answer any questions that the Board of County Commissioners may have moving forward. The drought planning guidance was a document that was put on a work task, and for the WPAC, it was quite a bit of effort for the fact that there's a lot of components to it in looking at drought planning. And as you can see, it says guidance for the fact that the guidance of it is these are ideas and things that the county and methods that we think that could be moved forward to help out in this drought planning effort. So next slide. What is the WPAC? What we did was we broke the drought planning was part of the WPAC work plan, as I stated before. And what we did was we understood that there is it ties to the U.S. Water Alliance National Educational Plan. Imagine a day without water, and that's a plan that kind of just throughout. It's a national type event where everybody kind of it's a established event, and there's events related to it, meaning that imagine a day without water, and you know, it's just what it says. Is just imagine that, and with this drought that we have, you know, we want to maybe look at how we can solve that before we have to imagine that or that it happens. Water systems impact our lives in our community. You know, as a water system, our water systems, we have different ones in our region. They're different utilities. They could be wells, they could be mutual domestics, they could be more of a regional type system, but they all impact our lives and our communities. You know, water is essential and invaluable resource. There's a limited amount of water that we have access to, and so we really need to look at conserving it and looking at how we use it today. So in the plan, there are key components in how we believe conservation efforts could be taken place to secure this resource and manage it in a way that to protect it. And that goes along with water resilience and sustainability. Water resilience is just making sure that you do have different sources of water and that you have the ability to get it. And sustainability is that you can always have it, is that it's something that's a little bit more long-term. And of course, water is life. I'm the mardomo of a ditch, and you know, we always say agua es la vida. And so we understand as a community that water is life. I think that everybody understands that. I think it's just educating on how we could do better about conservation. And so next slide. Why important to the county? You know, we have an increasing population in Santa Fe County. And so of course we definitely have water demand. And if we, so with that, we need, you know, a lot of our water is groundwater. And so I know there is places where we're trying to use surface water first, but we do understand that with this increased population, there's more reliance on the water, and also there is a finite supply other than, you know, like now with the droughts and stuff that we've had, some of the water that we used to get, the amounts has reduced. So we have two things working against us. Well, one is climate. The climate has changed a little bit, and also two is increased water demand. So we have less of what, I mean, there's a little bit less, and we have more demand on it. So the only way you can get through some of these things is through conservation. One of the things that we found as a committee is that 46% of the county is from small wells or small systems. I'm particularly the one that lives in Pewaukee, and I'm off a well. And I've always been to the thing is that we need to educate people on the conservation efforts that well users could do, and also too is educate areas, the different type of aquifers that their wells are tied to, and maybe some of the things that would allow them to understand the system more and to protect the resource better. And that's one of our tasks that we're putting in our work plan for 2022 is the educational component. It was in 2021, but I think we're going to be more active after this drought management plan guidance document moves forward. Is the next concentration of the committees through educational outreach on this particular item, wells, and how to educate on how we move forward in educating the customers, the well users about the resource that's there. And so that's what the next objective of our committee is. And of course, you know, every time I turn on the news channel, there's something about climate change and posing significant impacts. You just have to turn on the news and you'll see California's struggle, Utah. It's all, you know, it's most everyone in the Southwest. So with that said, next slide. This shows, this is something out of the guidance document. This kind of a quick look at the increasing populations. There are different sources here, but like the Santa Fe Basin study in it shows a population growth of 226,242 people. I mean, you can see that our population is growing. And so as we said, 46% of the county is served via domestic wells, so you can translate to more groundwater usage. Next slide. One of the things we thought about early on this guidance document was try to figure out and develop triggers, what we call triggers, on how things could be done to, depending on the severity of the drought. And what our committee did was we used the National Ocean Atmospheric categories. And what we did in the document was we associated them with the different categories, and we gave ideas for implementation on how we could how the county could implement some mitigation measures depending on where you're at regarding the drought index. We understand that this is a beginning step. These are like ideas on how you could go forward. It does need more refinement. We believe that this is the beginning part because triggers are really important for the fact that when will you call a drought and what will you do next? And I think the defining of the drought is very important because there could be significant financial impacts depending on what you do with the triggers. For instance, on like a severe drought, you may want to look at your rates and how you change your rate structure within the utility department to try to curb usage in the correct manner. But there's a lot of moving parts in how you would proceed on that. And I know that these are ideas and their guidance, but I think they could be further formulated to make them action. And like today, you guys had 2 items regarding your utility expansion charges, things that you guys are doing related to rates. And this may be something you look at, the county looks at as ideas. And so another key thing was that we felt as a committee that there's different emergency actions that the county would take place if there was when there is a called drought. And the committee thought that a drought management group comprised of people like the fire department or public works people, the county utility department director, or people in that manner that have boots on the ground, ideas of how this drought's affecting them, and to kind of figure out how they could manage through the drought and the impacts on maybe conservation or other impacts that you do with triggers to make sure that they're managing that doesn't affect other places of operation within the county. And we thought that this group would be more regional rather than jurisdictional. It'd be more like the water users in the area made up of different components. But this is just an idea, but I think it's a really important idea that should be looked at further. And so with that, you know, I think it could help through they would be the ones who, the idea would be they would be the ones to look at the declaration of the emergency and water use restrictions. So it would be more more on that level. This is just an idea, but this is something that we think could be very useful to the county. Next slide. I'm still waiting for the next slide. My internet's slow. Recommendations, you know, as I stated before, is develop an educational outreach program to inform county residents on levels of drought conditions and encourage them to become aware of their own water footprint. Engage a consultant to update conjunctive management plan and all other ordinances and policies to reflect drought conditions and measures to be taken in a drought emergency. Encourage partnerships through networking, resources sharing agreements, master planning, and water resource investments to augment water supply and diversify the regional water supply portfolio. Make conservation the key component of the county's drought management strategy. And of course, as I mentioned before, and Ken was really the one who really knows a lot more about the alliance on this Imagine a Day. So I wish, you know, he would have been able to speak to this a little bit more, but it's to adopt a resolution in support of the U.S. Water Alliance. October 21st, 2021, Imagine a Day Without Water, National Educational Campaign. The other thing too is Ken, when he was doing the presentation earlier, it was broken up, but he was trying to, when he left was the appreciation of all the WPAC members that worked on this. There was a subcommittee that worked really hard and did a lot of the work. The work was done mostly within the WPAC. So I mean, we had assistance from staff, but it really was a work of the WPAC in developing this document with the assistance of staff and guiding through those meetings that we had in subcommittees. With that, I stand for any questions you may have.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Romero, and Mr. Kirk as well for this presentation. It's very informative. Do we have any questions from the board? Commissioner Hansen?
Thank you, Mr. Romero, and thank you, Mr. Kirk, and thank you, Mr. Chair. So I see that you recommend in this particular presentation the conservation. I don't believe conservation is the only issue that we need to deal with, and I do agree with, you know, educating people, but we are also facing a consistent La Nina pattern, and I know that we are starting to do a water meeting. I want to thank the sustainability for getting that RFP out to start doing water meeting, but I think there's a number of other things that have not been taken into account as something that I have worked on consistently for the past 5 to 6 years, is that sewers play a major part. And I'm drawing on an article that was sent out by Bernadine Padilla at the Buckman Direct Diversion, and she sent it out, and California is spending billions on drought-related projects, and it's not borrowing to do so. And so I know that besides the county-wide effort, it is also a statewide effort, but what they recognized was how important sewers are. And the reason sewers are so important is because they take the water and they recycle it. That, you know, the water that goes to the wastewater plant can be recycled and reused. So therefore, the water is just not going back into the ground. I mean, definitely here, an ASR, aquifer recharge system, is important, but at the same time, getting sewers in is also incredibly important, both in the city and in the county for resiliency. So, you know, those are some of the other things that I think that we're talking about. I have comments on the other document also, but I'm going to wait for that presentation. To make comments on that. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Hanson. Any other comments or questions? Okay. Once again, thank you for the presentation, Mr. Romero and Mr. Kirk. We really appreciate it. And I know Mr. Romero actually lives in the same community as I do, and so he understands the need for this. Well, just the need that he brought up and the issues with as far as the drought management planning. So I do appreciate it, and I think as a mordomo for Acequia, he even understands it that much more. So thank you again, and thanks for the presentation, and have a good evening.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair,
Commissioner Hanson?
are we not going to have a presentation also on the Santa Fe County Drought Planning Guidance? Or
That was the presentation, I believe.
well, there's a much longer document that's like 46 pages.
Was there an additional presentation with this one, Mr. Romero?
No, there was 46 pages, so we wanted to just highlight things for you, the county commission, and what I would suspect is that you guys would look at it in detail, and staff can maybe give you some guidance on what you may want to do, like Commissioner Hanson had talked about, was resiliency, which was sewers and some other things. So if there's anything on the WPAC that we need to bring back or discuss more, we can. But I think at this point, it's just a matter of, these are some of the things we could be working on. Ours is the educational outreach. So I would, if after reviewing the guidance document, if there's anything else that we would need to come back to the board to present, we would be happy to do that.
So, Mr. Chair,
Yes.
so going over this guidance document, in one place I read that I can't find up the page exactly, but it referred to the fact that the city and county systems are interconnected, and the two water utilities co-own one regional source or supply. So the Buckman Direct Diversion is owned by both the city and the county, but we each have our own regional water treatment plant. So I think that's not exactly clear in this document, and maybe I'm misunderstanding what you're saying here. As far as I know, we don't own a joint water treatment plant in the city and the county. Okay, so, and there were a few other things, but I think that I will have a conversation offline with you, because I am concerned about some of the things that I did see in the drought planning guidance document. So, and I would like to see sewers included as something that is thought of as a drought planning guidance program.
I think one of the things that you see in the guidance document, it's guidance, number one, and it's not all inclusive, so things can be added. I think it's just a start, but we can talk more about that. But I think there's a lot to that document, and so as I stated before, we could revisit some of the areas that the Board of County Commissioners would like to have us focus further on.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Hanson. Thank you, Mr. Romero. Okay, so we're going to be moving on to our next item. Well, this is item number 6, matters of public concern. Tessa, Joe, do we have anybody signed up right now for public concern?
Yes, Mr. Chair, and if there's anyone else on WebEx who would like to sign up, if you would please let me know.
Okay, if there's anybody on WebEx that would like to address the commission, please unmute yourself and state your name for the record. And if you're a call-in.
Sir, my name is James. Sir, my name is James Meehan McCray. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Thank you, sir. I'll be speaking quite rapidly in order not to take up too much of your time. Commissioners, thank you for your time. I'll try to make this as brief as possible, but realizing that it entails over 18 years of harassment and misdeeds, I will give it my best effort. Considering that I served my country for over 1.5 minutes, I humbly request 6 minutes or so of your time to properly give you an accurate overview.
You're a little bit muffled. I don't know. Or can you guys hear him okay? Okay, go ahead. Sorry about that. It's just me that's having some issues. Go ahead, sir.
Thank you. I want to clearly state the intention of this communication is that I get on the agenda and appear before the BCC in order to expose the ongoing misconduct by some county employees, particularly of one individual in land use. I come to you because all attempts thus far have been ignored at every level, including the legal department. This is what happens when a group of individuals who over the years come to the realization that they're policing themselves, only to be inhibited by a few individuals willing to undertake the time and expense to enter the court system. Keep in mind, the court system is their trump card. This is how they leverage what they want. I would like to ask you, commissioners, who is really running the county? This rhetorical question is meant to give you pause. I was under the impression that the county commissioners, who were all duly elected to represent their constituents, were firmly in charge. That all changed in around June 25th of this year when I received a disturbing phone call from the head of the land use department. This call set off a very revealing sequence of events that in a matter of weeks exposed the inner workings of a very sick organization in dire need of help. Within seconds of this phone call, I was being chastised by a very aggressive voice for having the audacity to call my county commissioner and discuss the ongoing harassment that was taking place between land use and myself. I was told the county manager is not in charge of land use. The county commissioner is not in charge of land use. I am, she said. Wanting to take full advantage of this call, I expressed to the head of the department that I did not go through her because I did not get a fair shake from her staff. I then proceeded to tell her about the ongoing harassment that I was experiencing at the hands of one, and in my opinion, a very disturbed psychotic individual that she considers a key member of her staff. After sharing case after case of clear-cut violations, I thought I would get some level of concern and interest, which would elicit a professional response. What I got was a gruff response stating that I've worked with him for 25 years. Commissioners, if some of you are sitting there saying to yourselves, that's not what I experienced with the individual at land use, that's because what you see, hear, and get is what they want you to know. Make no mistake, they're controlling the narrative. My family, and particularly myself, have been turning the other cheek for close to 20 years. Regarding the bitter individual under the supervision of the department head, every time I go to land use, I have to be creative in ways that I capitulate in order for this pathetic creature so that he can feel his self-importance. His ego's that fragile. When I go to the clerk's office, everyone is extremely courteous and attentive. When you go to the assessor's office, it's like a Swiss watch. It's that ever since the land use department was forced to take classes on the county regs, it's been an us against them attitude. That being said, I apologize to these fine and outstanding individuals who do work in land use and have to struggle on a daily basis having their integrity violated by the actions of a few. The legacy that's being created there with the inappropriate listening in on phone calls, having employees intentionally delay the processing of permits, telling applicants fee costs, and upon delivery, doubling the price. Every vindictive concept that can be conjured up in order for an individual to orchestrate and manipulate the process for their own individual sick satisfaction should not be tolerated. Yet these employees are victims. They envision a career ahead of them. How could they possibly protest? On October 12th of this year, I wanted to come before the commission to expose these transgressions. I had written a letter earlier that day withdrawing my desire to extend my building permit, which had run out. I suggested that if anyone came to their senses prior to the meeting, I would listen. 2 hours later, I received a phone call from the head of land use saying that they wanted me to finish my home and that she would talk to her staff and that we could work everything out. I gave her that opportunity. I did not engage in the BC meeting. 3 days later, I received a phone message with that assertive voice back in play. We need to make an inspection of your property ASAP. Strangely enough, my attorney received a message from the county attorney the same afternoon asserting that if we don't give him access to my property, he was going to create some scenario where the public health department would invade my property. Their intention is to file any charge that they can dream up so that they would be in the position to tell the commissioners that this is an ongoing investigation and that cannot be discussed, therefore silencing my voice. I guess that civil rights is becoming as passé as civility. This isn't just happening to me. It's happening to you, commissioners, because it's been suggested that the commissioners should not take direct phone calls from their constituents, that staff can take care of them. Someone told the commissioner I was suing the county, and watch what he says to me. I have stated time and time again, I'm not suing the county. Last year, my commissioner's liaison officer realized that she was being misled and given misinformation time and time again by land use in order to delay my permit from being reinstated. I want to commend her for being courageous enough to stand up to the king manipulator over there. Let me bring this to a close. You're going to hear all kinds of claims about me regarding my project. I'm all for exposing it. Let's put it all on the table for the public to see what an unmitigated disaster land use is. Land use has been desperate for me not to reveal what's going on over there. I have requested that they leave me alone. Please stay off my property. I'm a 4-time wounded Marine. I'm being treated for kidney issues twice a week. I'd like to have a little peace in my life, but they won't leave me alone. I look forward to cooperating you and your staff to remediate these issues. Thank you very much for your time, sir.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Meehan. Are there any other?
Yeah, it's actually James Meehan McCree. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Is there anybody else from the public that would like to address the commission? If you're a call-in participant, please hit *6. And if you're on WebEx, please unmute yourself and state your name for the record. Okay, hearing none, I'm going to go ahead and close matters of public concern and go on to item number 7. And this is matters from the county manager. 7A is the COVID-19 updates. 7B is miscellaneous updates. Manager Miller?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So under COVID updates, the clerk actually reminded me, and this wasn't in here, but New Mexico passed 5,000 deaths for the state. COVID is still prevalent and causing problems in the health care community and in our country and around the world. We're seeing New Mexico's seeing a heightened number of cases, and the county currently does not have any ICU beds available, any of our hospitals. All counties in New Mexico are in the red zone, indicating a high rate of transmission. Overall, Santa Fe County does have the second lowest positivity rate and is seeing an average of 32 cases per day. The cases per 100,000 from October 5th to October 18th were 20. The positivity rate was 4.33%. The percent of residents with at least one shot were 92.3%, and percent of residents with vaccination series completed is about 82%. Our reporting indicates that county staff are a little below that at about 77% countywide. We are still working with the unions to implement a vaccine mandate, so we are still working on that. Also, as far as vaccination events, Santa Fe County is partnering with FEMA and the state on vaccination events at the community college. We've had several events over the past week in Madrid, which actually yielded about 44 vaccinations. Other planned activities included working with the Department of Health on Saturday clinics that offer shots for children and booster shots for those over the age of 65. And the Community Services Department is also partnering with the state to hold flu and COVID booster shots this fall. Clinics are tentatively planned in northern Santa Fe County at the fairgrounds and in Edgewood. Also, we have multiple prongs of public awareness campaign going. We have CSD staff preparing for another COVID-19 public awareness campaign that focuses on the following. That's the continued need to use protective face coverings and good hygiene to reduce transmission of COVID-19 in our community. Also, the individual and collective benefits to getting vaccinated. Available community resources for those impacted by COVID-19, including but not limited to the Connect program, and tools and resources to assist community members in identifying and mitigating the mental health impact caused by the COVID-19 pandemic. Then also we are working on all of the contract amendments for Connect that were approved by the board for the out of the ARPA funds, and we're working with the city on our Connect programs as well as funding for the Up Together initiative that the board approved. Those are my COVID updates. I don't know if you have any questions on those.
Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Hanson?
Thank you, Manager Miller, for updating on the sobering news of our hospitals. That is very concerning. It seems we have a very high vaccination rate, but at the same time we're still have a lot of people infected with COVID. I know that this is probably a rhetorical question, but what is happening? What we have a high vaccination rate, and all of our hospitals are full, and it's very sobering, and I am extremely concerned that are people just not taking this seriously?
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Hanson, I can't speak as a professional to this, but I can talk about some of the conversations we've had with the professionals about what's happening. One of the things, too, to realize is that there are a lot of vaccination mandate or testing requirements in Santa Fe County. While Santa Fe County as an employer doesn't have that, there are a lot of employers that do, including the state. So you have the city and the state and other employers that are either saying you have to be vaccinated or tested. So we have a lot more testing than what was happening previously. So it's mandatory weekly testing, or sometimes in some cases every 72 hours for work. So you're getting more testing. The vaccination does reduce your chances of getting it, but doesn't prevent you from getting it and does not prevent you from spreading it. So while we might see a higher positivity rate, some of that is also, and cases per 100,000, some of it is due to the fact that there's a lot more testing because of it being mandatory. Previously testing was if you had symptoms. Now you're getting them even if you're asymptomatic. So that's one factor that the healthcare industry has indicated is attributing to higher numbers of cases. But you also still have individuals who aren't vaccinated. You have younger kids that aren't vaccinated, and they have had outbreaks at schools. So you've had groups of students and classmates or people that they've been in contact with have multiple positives. And aside from that, I can't really speak to it, but that's some of the things that in my meetings last week were reported. You are still seeing, though, of those that are hospitalized or deaths, that's a low percentage of people who are vaccinated. That's predominantly over 90% are people who have not been vaccinated.
Thank you, Commissioner Hanson and Manager Miller. Any other questions? Okay, we can move on to our next item, Manager Miller.
Mr. Chair, the miscellaneous updates, I just have a couple. This was a really good statistic. The Fair Board actually reported at their first meeting since the fair that they had a record number for sales of the animals that they auction off. They had $232,319.72. So holding the fair this summer generated a lot of sales for those 4-H kids, and that was really good news. And then also, Chief Jackie Lindsay has been appointed by Governor Lujan Grisham as the chair of the State Emergency Response Commission, SERC, and also elected Metro Fire Chief Association Vice President. And both those appointments are for 2 years, and we're proud of her for those appointments. And those are my updates.
Thank you, Manager Miller, and congratulations to our Fire Chief, Chief Lindsay. Very proud of you. Great job, and really awesome news to hear about the 4-H. I know I've already started getting letters from the 4-H thanking the commission for everything that we help with to make sure that the fair is actually successful. But really, it's the kids and the volunteers and all of the staff or the 4-H that makes it successful. And we help as much as we can, but really it's the participants that make this fair successful. So congratulations to all of you, and great job. Any other comments from the commission?
Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Hamilton?
Yeah, I just wanted to add my voice to the congratulations to Chief Lindsay on the appointment to serve. That's really outstanding. It looks good. It does well for the county. It's not just optics, but and she has a huge amount to contribute, as is clear what she contributes to accounting. So that's really, really good to hear, and congratulations.
Thank you, Commissioner Hamilton. Okay, thank you, Manager Miller, once again. We're going to go on to our next item, and this is matters from the County Commission and other elected officials. The first one is 8A, and this is Commissioner issues and comments, including but not limited to constituent concerns, recognitions, requests, updates, and updates for future presentations. I'm going to go to Commissioner Hanson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I appreciate you recognizing me. I, too, want to thank Chief Lindsay for attending the town hall that I had on October 19th at the Nancy Rodriguez Community Center. Chief Lindsay was there, and she did make the announcement that she had been appointed by the governor to this task force, and that was a great, she did a great presentation. It was really engaging, and I'm really grateful for her to be there. We had 35 people in attendance in person, and we had over 70 constituents watching via YouTube, so we had about 100 people. Bob Alley from Available Media streamed the event for us, and so that was really fantastic. I also want to especially thank County IT Desktop Support Specialist Matthew Hernandez for setting up the mics and speakers and projector equipment. and for emergency management coordinators, Ignacio Dominguez and Matthew Harding for providing the COVID screening and helping with the sign-in table. It was a very successful event, and I want to thank my other two fellow commissioners for holding the event earlier in the summer, because I think there is a tremendous amount of concern and interest about this topic. I'm hoping that I will have the opportunity to present at the Radioactive and Hazardous Waste Legislative Committee on November 12th about this issue. I have been in conversation with them, and I hope that will happen, because I do think that residents are very concerned about the transportation of plutonium and plutonium oxide on their highways. Then on a opposite note, I had the great pleasure of going to the Jicarilla Apache Nation last Wednesday for Solar Direct. I want to thank Commissioner Hamilton for bringing that resolution forward, and our commissioners for supporting the Solar Direct program with PNM. It was just a presentation, and the city of Albuquerque, Mayor Keller and myself were the only two elected officials that were there. But you know, the city of Deming is involved, the school district in Deming, Walmart, Grant County, Bernalillo County. I can't remember all of the partners, but there is a number of partners, and it is a huge, huge array out there, and I'm very proud that we're part of it, and that it will supply half of our electricity that we buy from PNM. And the people who are building the facility were quite impressed that we will be getting half of our PNM electricity from this facility. That was a really, was a long drive, but it was completely worth it to be there and to support this important project, and definitely the kind of projects that we need. Yesterday, I attended the Climate Summit in person at the Roundhouse. This morning, I watched it on Zoom, and it was really good to see the Jicarilla Nation president again speaking, and he did mention this Solar Direct project that they are building. And one of the interesting things about the Solar Direct is that they are also being delayed by the problems in the harbor in Los Angeles. Anytime they see a truck coming down the road, they know the only place that truck is going is to this facility. And so, because you're kind of out in the middle of nowhere. So that day and that morning, we saw 4 or 5 trucks actually coming in while we were there, and everybody was extraordinarily happy. Also on my last coffee and tea under the trees will be held this Saturday, October 30th, and I've moved it back to noon, so it will be from noon to 2 p.m. at Reunity Research. I changed the time also because in the morning there is a big trash cleanup with New Mexico Wild, and it's out on the Calle del Rio and the La Cienega area. And I love their flyer. Illegal dumping is creepy. Prizes for best costume. Lunch will be provided. It's a meeting at 10 a.m. So you can also join them in the cleanup and then come to coffee and tea under the trees and have a wonderful lunch at Rose's Kitchen. Thank you, Mr. Chair, for letting me continue on, but I wanted to mention that the Old Santa Fe Association bulletin finally came out, and our building is on the front page. I want to thank Paul Olison and County Manager for their contributions to the story that we wrote for the paper. It has some wonderful pictures, our award that was given to the Santa Fe County, and a nice picture by Daniel Frescas that shows the remodel of our building. So it's a wonderful story. I can't take total credit for it because I feel like it was a collaborative effort from the county to present this to the Old Santa Fe Association. The big announcement at the climate summit yesterday was that the governor wants to meet the Paris Agreement of 2050 of being net zero by 2050. I am proud to be part of Santa Fe County that is really trying to move towards that goal, and that we have a sustainability department that is working really hard to meet those goals. Thank you, everyone. Thank you to my fellow commissioners for supporting that effort to make us climate neutral and zero neutral by 2050. Thank you, Mr. Chair, for letting me share all of those items. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Commissioner Hanson, for all the information and updates. I'm going to go to Commissioner Hughes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a few things. One is I wanted to note that I have been getting also a lot of thank you notes from the young people who attended the county fair, and that's a lot of fun to get the thank you notes, and I'm glad the fair was such a success for them. It's obvious that they put a lot of work into it. Also wanted to mention on November 4th, I'm having my regular town hall meeting hour with Hank, and it will feature John Dupuis, so it'll be more of an hour with John Dupuis talking about water. I get a lot of questions about water, and I thought, well, why not bring the expert? And so we're looking forward to that. That'll be 5:30 on WebEx on November 4th. Also, a project that New Energy Economy did with Casa Milagro, which is Casa Milagro is a housing program for homeless people with very severe mental illness, and they are getting a solar project donated with the help of New Energy Economy, and we're going to celebrate that on November 6th. And I know that Commissioner Hanson and I were invited, and I was originally under the impression that since two of us were invited, the rest of you couldn't come, but I've been told that we can actually notice the meeting if anybody else wants to come. So that'll be a really nice it's a really nice project when, because it has the dual purpose of course, helping the climate by having solar energy, but it's going to cut down on the utility costs for this program and give them money that they can spend in other ways on their clients who are among the neediest people that we serve anywhere. And finally, I just wanted to mention that, as you know, I had mentioned before, when I met with the Ethics Committee earlier, well, it was last year actually, right after I started my appointed position as County Commissioner, that they asked me to be sort of a cheerleader to get their revisions of the ethics ordinance through the process. And then, as you may know, we appointed some new people to the Ethics Commission, so those people have made a few additional changes, but they've put a lot of work into it. I don't think that there is really much, if anything, that's going to be controversial in that. They're planning to present it to us at one of the next two meetings in November, and I just encourage my fellow commissioners to, when they do present it, to read it carefully so that we can decide, you know, what of their suggestions we want to accept and if there's any we don't want to accept. But that we can kind of get this done and then, you know, we don't have to look at it again for hopefully a long time. But there are some important changes that they're suggesting. And that is it for me, Mr. Chair. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Commissioner Hughes. I'm going to go to Commissioner Hamilton.
Thank you. So definitely I agree with my colleagues. The congratulations should go to primarily the participants and especially the kids who did so well at the fair, and send out a big thank you to them for sending the delightful thank you notes to us. I think Mr. Chair is correct that they're the ones that make it a success. And I agree, want to chime in with Commissioner Hanson on being proud being in a county and a state that is really trying to move forward and do well addressing climate change, and some of the recent activities, and particularly our first climate summit is a really big deal in trying to get there. And I think the last thing I have is coffee with the commission this Saturday. I've also changed the time. It's from 10 to 11. It'll be virtual. So look for the announcement coming out tomorrow and make sure you and all your friends come. So thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner Hamilton. And for my district, we did have a meeting, or a community meeting on the 19th, and that was a really successful meeting, and so we're going to make them a little bit closer together for the next couple of months. So we're actually going to have our next one on the 2nd of November. So I hope I can see everybody out there. I think it's going to be the 2nd or 3rd, and but we'll send out notices. And so I just want to thank all the participants for being there. It was a really productive meeting, so I'm happy that we were able to have such a successful meeting. I also want to thank my liaison, Amber Baca, for her hard work facilitating these meetings. You know, my community and district really appreciate it, and also want to thank Daniel Fresquez for his participation, and Chris Heyer as well for being at these meetings. So thank you very much, and I really appreciate all your hard work. I'm going to go back to Commissioner Hamilton.
Yes, and thank goodness for my liaison, Tina Salazar, because I clearly misspoke. This Saturday is not the first Saturday of November, it's the last Saturday of October. Coffee with the Commission is the first Saturday of November, so it's in a week and a half, more or less. So thank you very much, Tina, for keeping me straight.
And Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner Hamilton. Commissioner Hanson?
Yeah, thank you, Commissioner Hamilton, for keeping us all straight, and thank you, Tina, for keeping us straight, because mine is this Saturday, and yours is the following Saturday. So we've tried to schedule them so that if we have crossover constituents, that they all get to participate. I also wanted to, community service, is that me?
I didn't know I was the one doing feedback before, so.
I wanted to thank Community Service for also helping pay for the ad for the Solar for All for the Casa Milagro, and helping to spread the word on this important project, Solar for All. And thank you, Commissioner Hughes, for mentioning that. I also wanted to mention that both Commissioner Hughes and I had the opportunity to speak at an immigration rally last week, and say a few words about our immigration and brothers and sisters, and also mention how grateful that we are able to help them through the ARPA funds. And if you wanted to say anything else about that, Commissioner Hughes, we both spoke, and it was a very nice event.
Mr. Chair, if I might just add that it's always a pleasure to participate in something sponsored by Somos and Pueblo Unido. They do a great job of representing the workers and the immigrants in Santa Fe, and I was happy to join the mayor and Commissioner Hanson and many other people. Representative Ledger Fernandez was there as well. It was a good event.
Thank you, Commissioner Hughes and Commissioner Hanson. Was that it? Okay. Thank you. Okay, so I'm going to go on to our next item, and this is item number 8B. And this is other elected officials' issues, comments, including but not limited to constituent concerns and recognitions, requests for updates for future presentations. Is there any elected officials that would like to make any announcements to their to the residents of Santa Fe County or to their constituents? Tessa Jo, do we have any elected officials online right now?
Mr. Chair,
Yes, Commissioner Hanson?
since I see that our county clerk is not present, I think I will just remind people that there is an election going on in the city, and please take the time to vote. It's fairly easy. I think a number of the early voting sites have opened, and there is also the opportunity to vote at our county building at 100 Catron, and it's very easy. It's a simple walkthrough. And I believe that a number of early voting locations throughout the city are open, and so please go vote. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Hanson. Chair Roybal, if I can add to that, I didn't want to interrupt if there was anybody
No,
online.
If you
but-
could just, if you want to just announce your name for the record so that.
Oh,
And
sorry.
I know it's our deputy clerk, but just so the people out there know who's speaking.
For the record, yes, this is Chief Deputy Yvonne Gantz. So we do have the election going on right now, and as Commissioner Hanson mentioned, we have early voting going on now, but that ends on Saturday, and we've had 60 plus people use the same day voter registration, but that is only good through early voting. So we encourage anybody who still needs to register to do so during the early voting time. Election day is a week from today, and we will have 30 locations set up around the county. There are the early voting and Dropbox sites and polling locations listed on the Santa Fe County Clerk's website. And just as a note for county voters, if you have requested an absentee ballot, we encourage you to drop it off at the drop boxes or early voting sites because it is likely too late to be able to mail it back to guarantee a delivery. With the way the mail has been going these days, with it being a little slow, we are encouraging everybody to drop off their absentee ballot if they have one. And all ballots have to be delivered to the clerk's office by 7 p.m. on Tuesday, November 2nd. Not postmarked by November 2nd. It has to be delivered by 7 p.m. November 2nd. So we highly encourage everybody to get out and vote.
Hey, thank you. We appreciate that update for all of our voting constituents that are out there. And so we all have to remember to get out there and vote. Your vote does matter, so please get out there and vote so you have a voice. Okay, so we're going to go, or actually I'm going to ask one last time, are there any other elected officials that would like to address their constituents? Okay, hearing none, I'm going to go ahead and close item 8B. and move on to item 9, and this is executive session. County Attorney Schaefer, can you give us a summary of what we're going into executive session for?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We'll be going into executive session to discussion of bargaining strategy preliminary to collective bargaining negotiations between the Board of County Commissioners and collective bargaining units as allowed by Section 10-15-1 H5 NMSA 1978. Threatened or pending litigation in which Santa Fe County is or may become a participant as allowed by Section 10-15-1 H7 NMSA 1978. And discussion of the purchase, acquisition, or disposal of real property or water rights as allowed by Section 10-15-1 H8 NMSA 1978, including 1, the disposal of county-owned real property, 2, discussion of bargaining strategy preliminary to collective bargaining negotiations concerning COVID-19 vaccine policy, and 3, acquisition of real property interests for solid waste convenience center.
Okay, thank you. Do I hear a motion to go into executive session?
So moved.
We have a motion from Commissioner Hanson.
Second.
And a second from Commissioner Hamilton. Deputy County Clerk, can you conduct a roll call, please?
Certainly, Chair Roybal. Commissioner Anna Hanson,
Yes.
Commissioner Hank Hughes,
Yes?
Commissioner Anna Hamilton,
Yes.
and Chair Henry Roybal.
Yes. Thank you, Deputy Madam Clerk. So we are in executive session, and we'll be back shortly because we do have a public hearing to come back to, so stay tuned.
Check. Mic test. Same thing.
Okay,
just like
no
that. Check. Mic test. Test 1, 2. I can hear it there, but not out through Wpac, which is fine. Test 1, 2. Yeah. Mic check. Mic. It's pretty intense, huh? Mic check. 1, 2. Test 1, 2. Was that it? Still getting feedback? Let me just unplug that. Mic check. 1, 2. Test 1, 2. It's no feedback now, right? Check 1, 2. Mic test. Mic test. Check 1, 2. Mic check. check 1 2. Mic test. Test 1 2. Check 1 2. Mic test 1 2. Is this one? So this was just a little bit too loud, I guess, huh? So it's at 60 right now. Do you think that's what it was? We can turn. If that's the case, let me try turning down this all the way, I guess, right? I mean,
That's what I was, that was initially what I was thinking.
all the way.
Gotta have some gain.
Maybe just one. This one. Mic check. Test 1 2. Test.
It's still there, but it's really.
You can, yeah. Oh, it's not noticeable now. You can hear it in here too. Yeah, you can hear it everywhere. And we think this was turned up a little bit louder than normal. This is just their listening. So,
It doesn't sound like any of it. And help a little bit.
they've all requested them. Yeah, it's a party. Let me try pumping that down a bit. Test. Test 1 2. Mic check. Mic check 1 2. Test 1 2. Mic check. It sounds a lot better now. I turned the gain, the sensitivity down on this all the way, pretty much all the way. And then I turned the whole room sensitivity down a little bit because that was the only way I can get it down a little more. Oh, Daniel stepped on it. Stepped on a. Yeah. I'm gonna leave this here just in case. Well, I don't know. I want to say it's gonna do the same thing, right?
Well, what we need to change out is.
This one? I turned it all the way down. I turned both of them all the way down. 4. So it's on right now. Check. Mic test. Test 1 2. Mic test 1 2. It's even worse on that one. Okay.
So what I'm thinking, dude?
Yeah. Headphones. Ear, little earbud.
That's here.
Yeah.
Was the mic on? Cool.
Yeah. Check 1 2. Mic test. Yeah.
It's literally on top of it.
That's a simple fix, and it's a simple fix right there. So that's.
So yeah, I'll just talk to Nancy, like if she. Anything else?
Nothing else I can do.
No,
If we turn this down. If we turn this down, it's not that big a deal.
Well, go down to 30. That's where it traditionally is set.
Yeah, that's 60.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Because when you have it that high, you're also pumping out electrical waves.
Very electrical. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
and it's the device. Well, actually, let me see what happens. What was she at, 70?
that's 60. What? Sure.
Yeah. It's that's pretty bad from that distance.
Yeah, that's.
Because yeah. Yeah, I'm gonna talk to Tina and ask if she can get something else to plug into that. Because I mean, I can put it right on top in it. No. Yeah, it's got to be an aux 3.5.
What is it at?
I'm pushing it.
Yeah, it needs to be tuned down.
I'm gonna bring it to 50.
Do you have any view on iPhone?
No, but what's going on? I can probably help.
So there's an email on desktop you can, once you read, open it with it. Open your email.
As soon as she said, yeah, she gets it. It's getting.
No, so she opens it.
Mhm.
So she'll open this and read it,
Mhm.
all very good, and then she goes back to her inbox and it goes away.
And it already
Oh, that's you have a filter on.
gets the Outlook thing.
Yeah, it's there. I just turned it off.
Oh, come on.
Not just press the button.
The filter was set to the filter was set to only show unread emails, and so once it becomes read, it moved it. So I mean, it's still in the inbox. It's just it was only showing unread emails.
Mic test. Check. 1, 2. Check. Mic test. Test. Mic check. Check. 1, 2. I had a 40, and as long as it's on her head, it should be okay.
Always take a look at the top right. You see 3 lines there. If you see like a picture of a little envelope or any kind of checks, those are filters. You can just tap to remove them.
What if she wanted to be not?
Call it a hamburger.
What?
You know what the 3 lines is called? A hamburger.
Called a hamburger?
The 3 lines. The bun.
Oh
and
my
the patty.
gosh.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Click on the little hamburger icon.
Awesome.
Thank you very much, guys.
issues with, I'll have to ask.
Not that I know of. Okay, thank you. We're going to go ahead and come out of executive session. If I can get a motion.
I'll
Mr.
move
Chair?
to leave executive session.
It takes a little more than that.
Okay.
And that-
The only things that were discussed were the items that were
Oh, right.
summarized by our county attorney, and
No decisions were made.
no decisions were made.
Is that your motion?
That's my motion.
I'll second that.
Okay, so we have a motion from Commissioner Hughes, a second from Commissioner Hamilton. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 All those opposed, same sign. Okay, motion carries. We're out of executive session. The next item on our agenda is item number 10, and this is a public hearing to be, and this is case number 20-5111, Vista de Sangres, reconsideration of all conditions. Eliano Company Incorporated applicant is requesting the subdivision, which requires a final plat for phase 1 to be recorded within 60 days after the board entered order conditionally approved. The consolidated submission, and from our, and this is in Commission District 2, but we have our case manager, Ms. Vicky Lucero.
No, I don't
No?
think it's on.
Maybe if I hold it up closer, is that better? Okay. On May 11th, 2021, the BCC granted approval of a conceptual plan for a 23-lot subdivision consisting of 22 residential lots and 1 open space remainder tract to be developed in 2 phases. The approval also included preliminary and final plat approval for phases 1 and 2. Prior to the BCC's action on the subdivision application, Santa Fe County and Eliano Company, Inc. had entered into a settlement agreement and release of claims in an attempt to resolve a dispute regarding the legality of the previously recorded subdivision plat. The settlement agreement specified that the applicants would submit a consolidated application for subdivision approval. One of the stipulations of the settlement agreement was that Eliano record the final plat for phase 1 within 60 days after the board entered an order conditionally approving the consolidated submittal. The final order conditionally approving the application was recorded on July 28th, 2021. Therefore, the final plat for phase 1 should have been recorded by September 28th. Mr. Chair, Commissioners, the applicant was originally requesting an additional 60 days from the September 28th deadline to record the final plat for phase 1. Since the time that the application was made, the applicant has amended their request, and they're now asking for a 90-day time extension to record the final plat for phase 1. Recommendation. Actually, in regards to the applicant's request for the time extension, there is a section in the SLDC, section 4.6.11, that allows minor amendments to applications, and the board can grant those without further notice. So they do meet that request for a minor amendment, being that they're asking for an additional 30 days. Recommendation, the applicant has been working with staff to address all red line comments and conditions of approval. The applicant has also begun obtaining signatures on the plat and water covenants from the 8 other property owners. The applicant has made a good faith effort to comply with all conditions of the BCC's approval. Therefore, staff recommends approval of the amended request to modify the previously imposed condition and grant an additional 90 days from September 28th to record the final plat for phase 1, subject to the following condition. And the only condition that we would recommend is that the applicant comply with all other conditions imposed by the BCC on the conceptual plan variance and preliminary and final plat approval. Mr. Chair, with that, I stand for any questions.
Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Ms. Lucero. Commissioner Hanson?
So when would they have to file for the final plat? September 25th, October, by the end of the year? When's the deadline?
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Hanson, yes, the 90 days from September 28th would be around December 28th. Or we can set that as December 28th just to avoid confusion.
Okay. So I don't have, it seems like they have been working with staff. Everything seems to be moving forward. Do we have to do a public hearing?
Yes, we do.
Okay. And are they, is the applicant here?
Yeah, I believe the applicant is going to make comments, yeah.
Yes.
So we will call on the applicant, and then I'll call on public comment
thank
after
you.
that. Okay, so the applicant, if you're here, sir, you can go ahead and address the commission.
Yeah, I just wanted to say I concur with Vicky's recommendations, and I can stand for questions.
Okay, is there any questions for the applicant from the board? If not, I'll go to public hearing, and then we can come back to questions. Commissioner Hanson, this is in your district. Is that okay? Okay, so I'm going to go out to the public. Is there anybody from the public that would like to speak in support or opposition of this case? Please unmute yourself and state your name for the record. If you're a call-in participant, it's *6 to unmute yourself. Once again, I'd like to ask, is there anybody from the public that would like to speak in support or opposition of this case number? Okay, hearing none, I'm going to close public comment, and I'll go back to Commissioner Hanson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I'm grateful that they have been working diligently to get everything done, and I would like to see them be able to do this sooner rather than later. So I am willing to give them the extension. So I would like to make a motion to approve case 20-5111, Vista de Sangre's reconsideration of a condition of El Llano Company. So for 90 days till December 25th, or December 28th, 2021.
Second.
And you second that? Okay, I just, can you, the applicant, can you meet that deadline?
Yes, it is our hope.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so we have a motion from Commissioner Hanson and a second from Commissioner Hamilton. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you, Ms. Lucero. And thank you also, Mr. Hoyt. Is that how you pronounce your last name?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you, sir. Okay. So,
Thank you.
And item number 11 is informational items. I just want to thank staff for these reports. And I don't know if there's any other questions from the board for staff on any of these. No. Okay. Okay. Thank you, Commissioner. So our next item is item number 12, concluding business. Is there any announcements from any of the board members? If not, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. We have a motion from Commissioner Hanson. Do I hear a second?
Second.
And a second from Commissioner Hughes. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Have a good night. We're adjourned.